Welcome into NBC's NFL betting and DFS preview. It is Thursday night football. We have the Cardinals and the Saints. Interesting game on our hands. Interesting night ahead. Kyle Dvorchak joining myself, Vaughn Dalzell. Kyle, how we doing, man?
Not bad. There are some really fun, bad tight ends on this slate. So I'm grinding like the last time Nick Vannett played a snap.
The first question we have already is a tight end question. So we have a special guest today, too. He'll be talking about a tight end. So I'm definitely going to need your expertise on this one. But yeah, I think tonight is a tight end night in the NFL. Hopefully, the only person that balls out is DeAndre Hopkins. Shout out to FFB legend. We gave you a shout in the last episode with your Dante Pettis 45-1 hit. So we're going to need you to run that back tonight because we need to make some cash. Tron Carter, what's up, buddy? Juwan Johnson, Hunter Henry, 0.5 PPR. You got an opinion on that before we jump into the game here? We just want everyone to jump in, drop your questions. We're going to get to them live. So, Kyle, Juwan Johnson, Hunter Henry, what you think?
Give me Juwan. I mean, a former college receiver who actually at his time at Penn State outproduced Mike Gesicki. He's playing receiver at the time. Gesicki was always a tight end, so there's a bit of an edge there. But comes in the NFL, gets tight end eligibility, but he actually runs routes downfield, unlike most tight ends. And with Adam Troutman out, he should actually play 70+% of the snaps at tight end. We may see a little. These are who I was trying to figure out. Nick Vannett and JP Holtz, I think his name is. May see a little of them, but like Holtz is a pure blocker. They're both practice squad level players, so I think it should be a pretty good night for Juwan Johnson. So I have him ranked. I have him ranked pretty highly in my season long rankings that I put up.
I mean, the Cardinals are the worst passing defense for tight ends. Am I correct on that?
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people have been saying today. So I was just, either fantasy expert, but I was just assuming that we were going to have that because last game, 87.1% snap share for him. I mean, that was a season high. We saw 73% and about 80% back in week 1 and 2. So I definitely like him. Hunter Henry had a good week last week, but I don't think we can back that going back-to-back weeks here. This is going to be a hot topic tonight is DeAndre Hopkins or Chris Olave because he's back. Don't call it a comeback, though, Kyle. That's what DeAndre Hopkins says.
Yeah, you're right. Don't call it a comeback. You pop heads. You got suspended. Now you're back. That's not a comeback.
See, is that the thing though? Because I mean, do you believe him or don't believe him on what he said about it? Are you up to date on like exactly what he said happened?
Didn't he just say like he took some recovery supplements that his trainer gave him, and then he
said some of the food he had also had could have had some of what he
in
his system. Which
that is
I get it.
Oh man,
GMOs, I get it.
No.
We learned about high school.
I was just holding these PEDs for a friend, officer. No. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not a comeback, but I think he has a good shot tonight. Would you prefer Hopkins over Chris Olave, or are you taking the rookie who I think is a sneaky pick to get a touchdown tonight?
I think I would go with Olave. I mean, Olave has been a really strong option no matter who's been under center, Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton. He's got like a target share north of 35-40%, air yard share north of 35-40%, target share well over 20. And last time we saw Hopkins, like he looked in decline. It was easily his worst season since his rookie season when he wasn't at a full-time role. As soon as he broke out in his second season in the NFL, everything has been up. And then last year he just fell off a cliff. So I think to me, I'd want to wait 1 week to see what we get from Hopkins because I just have no questions about Olave. He is just a legit number one receiver, no matter who's under center.
Yeah, he's definitely been a stud. We got Andy Dalton in the fold tonight again. Should be exciting. No revenge tour for him either, though, because that was last week or a couple weeks against the Bengals. But I do want to point out because, we're talking about tight ends too tonight. Juwan Johnson, man, he's a fan favorite tonight. 100% of the bets at BetGM. Over 26.5 receiving yards. Does that make you nervous at all?
I think he's a good bet. I think, does our guest have a Juwan Johnson take? I think
everyone has a Juwan Johnson take tonight. I don't think half of America's seen Juwan Johnson play before, but everyone's got an opinion on him tonight.
Everyone knows like a few little things about him that like he used to play receiver. It's like the third string tight end, and the Saints tight ends are hurt. And they're like, yeah, take it.
Take it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty solid tonight. We do got to give a shout out to our boy, Lord Don't Lose. He got senior night soccer tonight. He is still with NBC. Don't everyone freak out. He'll be back on Monday. And he said he's got some good bets on Monday, but he wanted to pass along his hellos to everybody. Tonight is a big night because the Taysom Hill truthers could be scared, a.k.a. me. tight end flex. He's been getting me by the past 2 weeks, not going to lie. But this week, I'm not feeling very confident, even though the Cardinals defense is garbage. How you feeling? Taysom Hill with Dalton Schultz, the tight end spot.
I think I would still go Taysom Hill just
Even
because
though
we've
Dak's
seen
back?
what?
Even though Dak's back?
The problem with me isn't Dak. It's that, like, I know Dalton Schultz got like banged up like pregame last week and didn't play, but the weeks before that he was getting like 1-2 catches. Like, he wasn't involved in the offense. Maybe Dak likes him so much that he's throwing to him, but to me, CeeDee Lamb looks like he's hit that next level where he can be like a team's true number one receiver, and that's enough. With Michael Gallup also back in the fold, playing a pretty strong role, that's enough to crowd Dalton Schultz out. Whereas, like, if Taysom Hill is actually going to catch 2 passes, which I don't know if he will, but if he's ever going to do that, it's a night like tonight. So I'm still Taysom Hill, but honestly, I don't love either of these options. I will speak ill of Taysom Hill soon enough.
Yeah, it's his time's almost over. We know he'll pop back up towards the end of the season, but I feel like these 20, 25 points fantasy nights are going to be over here on Taysom Hill pretty soon, if not already. Shout out to Connor, because we did do it. The first half over for the Broncos. They came out with 10. Boy, was I sweating. And then they threw up a dud in the second half like we thought they would. But they also had an NFL record, most penalty yards. But that was part of the cap, Kyle. That was part of the cap. We talk about it. Terrible
hate
line.
this team so much.
Did you see a Subway commercial? I hate it even more now.
And the worst part is, like, you know, they filmed that Subway commercial in July or August or whatever, right? But their marketing or social media team couldn't hold this off until he gets a win. Like, they have to keep inundating us with these hilariously bad pieces from him. Like, let the last one simmer for a little bit more. Let anything go his way, and then drop the next one when it's not nearly as cringe.
There's been a lot of things happening to Russell Wilson, man. And it's like, I feel bad for him. And I mean, you know, I like rap and hip hop music, so I listen to Future. And Future is still dissing Russell Wilson in his songs. So it's like, and he even put out a tweet. His team put out a tweet. Future is going to try out for quarterback for the Broncos, and it's just like, it's getting bad for Russell Wilson. He got to do something, man. He got to do something here soon. T. Higgins or D Hop. I'm actually in the same situation in my dynasty league, and I'm kind of leaning T. Higgins. Not gonna lie. I want to be the person that says the Falcons ATS streak's going to be over. They're going to take the L this week, all that stuff. But I simply am not confident in saying that. So I probably am going to play D-Hop just because I'm excited tonight. But T. Higgins is probably the right move.
I agree. I agree with both your sentiments. I'm hopeful that DeAndre Hopkins can be 2020 DeAndre Hopkins, because this offense desperately needs that. I want to see how it goes tonight. But I agree. I think the right answer is T. Higgins.
Yeah, we got a couple people in here saying they got all these questions. Everyone's choosing between DeAndre Hopkins and everyone. And it's funny because Hopkins is going to be the guy that possibly saves some fantasy teams or lets everyone down, because I was one person that kind of held out on trading because I had him back. And I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to go off all season, but I do think tonight's a good night for D-Hop. I'm skittish of his receiving yards total, though. Everyone thinks that's the play. I could see him going 3 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown tonight. Honestly, that's okay with me. Would you start Taysom Hill tonight in general if you have a flex or tight end spot, or are you kind of just passing on that?
Tight end is so terrible. There are like 2 good tight ends, and that's about it. So yeah, he's definitely worth starting if you don't have better options. I already took him over Dalton Schultz. There are other like bad streaming tight ends I would take him over too.
Yeah. And yeah, this is a good point too. Juwan Johnson did have he's a very, on and off type player. This is just a positive matchup here where everyone's going to be wanting to pick up a tight end too. So it's really a reason why he's going to be a hot topic. We may never talk about him the rest of the season. Kyler Murray or Dak Prescott? This is a great question. Kyler Murray's passing yards has been juiced to the under, and I think it's a bit of a trap spot here. I'm pretty excited for Dak, though, against the Detroit Lions. I've been targeting that Cowboys first half team total over 13.5. I feel like the Cowboys could get 2 touchdowns there, and Dak could probably toss 1 or 2. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I think I go Dak here. Like, the Lions games, outside of one miserable outing versus the Patriots, Lions games are just great scoring environments. Lions, when they're healthy, can actually put up points with the best of them. Like, they legitimately just have good talent on offense, and they're making, at least, I don't know about the most, but they're making a lot of that talent, and their defense is terrible. I mean, downright the worst defense in the NFL, and I'm not even sure it's close. Like, they're 31st in rush EPA allowed, they're 32nd, dead last in pass EPA allowed. So I think I'm going to go Dak. That looks like a pretty good game.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm pretty excited for him to be back too, because we've talked about it for weeks on the show about my rotating quarterback list. And it's been Marcus Mariota, it was Carson Wentz, it was Jared Goff. So I just really need some stability here, and I'm hoping Dak Prescott gives me that one. We do have our guest in the building. We're going to bring him on in about 5 minutes. We're going to take some more questions here. He does have a same game parlay tonight, pays $10 to win 562. So that would be pretty sweet if that hits. We love our lunch money bets on here. How did you guys like the Pettis first touchdown call last week? Yeah, man, this is the third time we're shouting you out FFB legend. But yeah, I was pretty upset I didn't take that. We should definitely be getting on that. Talking about Zach Ertz tonight, holding out or playing him with Darren Waller's status. We're going to touch on James Conner here in a minute too, because he's inactive for tonight. So we're going to need your help, Kyle. But would you wait out for Darren Waller, or are you just playing Zach Ertz tonight, hoping for a touchdown?
Yeah, I'm just playing Zach Ertz tonight. You don't even need a touchdown just because the team operates in a way that's bad. You don't want your team to throw only 4-yard plays for 40 plays a game. That's great for Zach Ertz because that's what his skill set does well. So he's a really good PPR option, and maybe he gets in the end zone tonight. Whereas I really don't know if Waller plays, and even if he does, his target share, his air yard share have both dropped to like the lowest point it's been since he joined the Raiders. That's what happens when you have Davante Adams with you. The dude's just an alpha, and Darren Waller is a very good tight end, but he's not Kelsey or Mark Andrews. So you're not gaining so much that you have to play Waller if he plays. So I'm just going to take the guaranteed points with Ertz.
Yeah, he's been a little bit of disappointment in Darren Waller this season, in my opinion. I didn't draft him this year, but I've had him the past 2 years, and I just kind of felt like it. I mean, with Davante Adams in town, his time was really running out in some sort of way. But to James Conner, him being out here, he was a touchdown machine last year. This year, not so much. We knew that was a one-hit wonder. Benjamin or Tony Pollard, RB2 PPR.
Give me, he played like a legit 3-down every snap roll last week. Got all the carries, ran all the routes, and got all the targets out of the backfield. Didn't get there because the Cardinals are bad at football, but like you're taking him as it's not good, man. Get someone else other than Cliff in there. Come on. Man, it's brutal. But we play guys who play nearly every snap and get all the targets and get all the carries. Like those are just the guys you want to be playing week in, week out. Whereas Tony Pollard he pushed for a little bit of a true backfield by committee last week, but it's still a committee. So I will take Benjamin here. Yeah,
I was just checking myself because I think I've Benjamin in tonight. I'm in a 16-team league, that deep, and Benjamin is one of my starters tonight. So he was actually my starter like the past 2 weeks. That's how bad that team is. But this is a good question here: Benjamin or Andy Dalton, Superflex PPR.
I had to think about this. I think so often the answer in Superflex
or is this Dalton Schultz?
No. It's
Andy Dalton.
Got to be. He wouldn't mention it Superflex if it wasn't Andy Dalton. I think it's got to be Andy Dalton. Just so much of of just pure fantasy scoring comes down to quarterbacks get to throw the ball a ton. Usually, even 20 times is a lot relative to Eno's 13 projected touches or something like that. It's really hard to ever get me to side with a non-quarterback in Superflex. So I'm going to stick with Dalton. It's gross, I know. Cardinals defense is also bad, so that's good.
Yeah, he could throw for 2 touchdowns, 200 yards tonight. Like no one would be shocked or surprised. This one is a little tougher though because you got Zeke and Etienne, and I've been getting a little higher on Travis Etienne lately. But I don't know if I would really play Benjamin over those 2 guys. Are you?
I think I'm taking Eno again. Zeke is closer than Pollard, but
where's he ranked on your list? Where's he on your list?
Eno's got to be like top 15 for me. I'll pull it up, but the guys who get all the touches, I generally rank pretty highly. And last week, we saw Zeke actually got pushed pretty hard. It was nearly a 50-50 split. I think it was a 50-50 split in terms of opportunities, targets plus carries. So that one's closer because I think most weeks Zeke should lead his team in carries, but I'm still going to take Eno.
Yeah. All right, man. I hope you're right. I'm definitely betting on it here. This is my week where I got a lot of guys out. I think Justin Jefferson, Jalen Hurts on my team. So I definitely need some extra points, and he'd be a nice guy to definitely go off tonight. I think this is going to be a pretty good question to bring in our special guest here because Rondale Moore is a guy that everyone's been talking about. Just because, not everybody that's not talking about DeAndre Hopkins is talking about Rondale Moore. I feel like the sharps are on Rondale Moore tonight. So with further ado, let's welcome in my guy who I just made a trade with 2 weeks ago in our fantasy football league, Bobby Stanley Jr., aka Prop Holiday, the prop specialist at Pickswise. So how you doing, Bobby?
What's going on, man? Vaughn, I was curious if you were going to bring up our trader if I had
of course.
to. I'm glad that you opened with, and just so everyone watching, we're in a 12-man league together. I traded away J.K. Dobbins. I got back CeeDee Lamb. So Lamb didn't have too good of a game last week. J.K. Dobbins
didn't either.
How long is he hurt? I haven't looked into that now that he's not on my team.
Yeah, well, I actually haven't looked into it either because I'm pretty upset that against Kyle's expertise and Lawrence's, who I asked him 3 weeks in a row, should I do this trade? And then you DM me the night I lose by 1 point for the third week in a row. I've lost by 4, 2, and 1 in that league, our $200 league. And I said, you know what? I'm just doing this trade. We need to make a change. D-Hop's back. CeeDee Lamb, see you later. Then that happens to JK. So
Drew, slightly a little bit more background. I go running back the first 4. That's my usually the first 3, but if there's somewhere sitting in the 4th round, I'll take it. So I went Najee, Saquon, Josh Jacobs, J.K. Dobbins. And after a couple weeks of J.K. on the bench, I was like, I got to get something for him while I can. And you can imagine my wide receivers probably aren't great. I have I have Cortland Sutton and Rashad Bateman. So I got a wide receiver 1. Vaughn got hopefully a running back 1. And then
doesn't look great.
It's still early, man. Running back points, they matter just a little bit more. But I feel happy with the deal. Hopefully he comes back for you, man. I'm not rooting against J.K. Dobbins.
It's all right. I appreciate your kind sentiment on here, even though we already know who won this trade, who lost this trade. And it only took 1 week to figure it out. So, and then you get on NBC the following week. So congratulations to you. The ultimate flex on me, certainly. But you do have some plays to run by us tonight. I do want to open up the floor for everyone watching to ask Bobby any type of questions they have, fantasy related, betting related. I definitely want Kyle's opinion on a lot of these. I did say we were going to touch on Rondale Moore because he's an underrated receiver tonight. I know on the Saints side, you're targeting Marquez Callaway. So just talk a little bit about both of those guys and kind of what you're expecting. Are you off the Rondale Moore train because of D-Hop tonight?
To start with Rondale Moore, I'm not off of him. I was on him last week. I hit him last week with the player, my yards. It was over, I think he was like 44.5. It was a low line. He had a great matchup out of the slot against a defense that was pretty poor against slot wide receivers. So he exploded. He had a big game. It's not that I'm off him per se. It's just I went in another direction tonight. But if you're playing alternate lines, I mean, him to get 40 yards on FanDuel, if you're building a same game parlay, something like that, it's like minus 178. But I think his line right now is what, 48.5, 49.5,
Yeah,
something like that.
A little high.
It's a little high, but it's not that I'm off him tonight. I do, if anything, think you're freeing up safety help with the amount of attention that Nuke Hopkins is going to get. So if he's operating out of the slot, he should see a little bit more one-on-one coverage.
I like that. Now let's talk a little bit about Callaway here because we talked a lot about Taysom Hill, Andy Dalton tonight.
Yep.
And, there's got to be guys to throw to. Chris Olave's back now, and that's where the public's probably going to be putting their money. But you're going with Callaway. So why do you like Marquez Callaway tonight?
I'm pivoting to Callaway. So, there's no Landry, there's no Mike Thomas tonight. The starting wide receiver should be Olave and Callaway. Now, Callaway started 2 of the last 3 games with Dalton under center. In both those games he started, he hit it with ease. He saw 6 targets in each of those games. In those 2 starts, his average depth of target was around 14 yards. So I think he needs 3 receptions to hit this. But a little bit added bonus, Cardinals are about middle of the pack in 20-plus yard receptions. So he may be able to hit this in 2 receptions. Doesn't have to be a high volume game. It doesn't have to be a high volume game for him. I just like the number being where it was. I got it at 28.5. I saw it at a couple books at 32.5 at one point. Made me feel good about the 28.5. So it helps if we also get a negative game script. If this game can get a little bit out of hand, now they go a little bit pass heavy. That plays into Callaway's plays into his game. And then finally his matchup. He gets Marco Wilson in coverage. He's the 80th ranked coverage cornerback according to PFF. So a lot of things are going in the direction of this play, and I actually like that the public's not on it. They're more in the Olave, Nuke Hopkins route. Give me the guy that nobody's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty public with DeAndre Hopkins tonight, but I don't honestly care. I'll take it. What do you think about that, Kyle? Marquez Callaway, before we get to the tight end talk that you're probably so excited to have?
I love bad tight ends, and almost every tight end in the NFL is not particularly good right now. So I'm excited for it.
Mark
Yeah,
Andrews and Travis
Mark
Kelce. That's
Andrews,
about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and like the rest of these guys, like we got to get some new blood in here. But I like the Callaway prop. He ran. I mean, he ended up having to run more routes than Chris Olave last week, so Olave didn't finish the game. But it looked pretty obvious that if they're going to roll out this non, and not like they get a choice, they're rolling out this non-Landry, non-Thomas lineup. It's Marquez Callaway is clearly a starting receiver playing all the 2 receiver sets, and Traquan Smith only coming on the field for 3 wide sets. So you're getting a legit starting receiver on an offense that it's not great, but like there are worse quarterbacks than Andy Dalton. Panthers are starting one this week, so I think it's a pretty low line for just any starting receiver almost.
And completely overlooked, the New Orleans Saints are averaging 30 points per game under Andy Dalton. I know we don't think that. They're not an offensive juggernaut, but I would say they're average at worst if they're putting up 30 points.
They're fine, yeah. They're fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely think the Saints are an interesting bunch that just finds a way to score points. They didn't expect their defense to be this bad by any means. And we're definitely going to talk about some guys that could take advantage of that possibly tonight. Would you play Callaway, though, at 30.5 for Connor and the company? Yeah,
I would. I saw that, Connor. 28.5 is when I locked it in 2 days ago, but I would play it up to 30.5. You could probably go up to the 32.5, maybe scale back the unit a little bit. But if he's got 3 catches in him, I can't see why he doesn't hit this.
This is Connor's reading our mind tonight. I promise he's not a producer or anything because he hit us up with Ertz under 45.5, opened up at 47.5. The next prop you're talking about is Zach Ertz under 47.5. So obviously this has moved in your direction. Talk about it at 45.5. What would you play then, Kyle? Of course, you pick up after.
So I mean, I got it at 47.5. Yes, I would play down to 45.5. We're treading on thin ice the lower it goes. But Hopkins is back. But even when Hopkins was in the lineup, he hit this in 3 of 6 games. Saints ranked first in DVOA against tight ends. They're allowing 29.7 yards per game against opposing tight ends. And they haven't played schmucks. I mean, they get Kyle Pitts, they get Hayden Hurst. They keep them under this number. The only one that went over was Noah Fant, and that's because Noah Fant had a 27-yard reception, which is more of an outlier than anything else. If we look at the targets per game to tight ends against the Saints, it's 5.6. It's not a lot. And when Ertz gets less than 8 targets, he's hit this line in 1 of 8 games. So a lot of attention is going to be towards Hopkins, and rightfully so. Rondale Moore, another guy I think could be in for a solid 40, 50-yard game. I'm gonna fade Ertz, and he is my fantasy tight end, ironically. Shows you where I feel about my money. I am going to fade Ertz tonight.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. It doesn't look like a great matchup, as you said, for Ertz. Frankly, it just looks like a low-scoring affair where neither team is forced to like attempt to put up 25, 30 points. It's not like a particularly high total by any means. And I think DeAndre Hopkins coming back is worse for Zach Ertz than in the times where Marquise Brown was in, because Hopkins is more likely to play over that intermediate portion of the field, whereas at least like Marquise has that deep speed to where they can not consume each other's targets as much. So I'm on board with this too.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked when I was looking up Zach Ertz's player profile stats, and I was seeing all of his target share and snap share numbers a lot higher than I anticipated for sure. But that's going to all come down to earth now, especially with Hopkins back. Now, once Robbie Anderson starts learning the offense a little more. So
to jump in, did you hear what Robbie Anderson's expectations are for tonight?
No, I haven't heard this.
Are they?
All right, so they have the Cardinals have packages for him. He's expected to play around 10 to 15% of the plays. Now, you have to imagine a guy that's been picked up during the week, he's playing 10 to 15% of the plays, and he's in packages. What does that tell you? He's probably going to be in the red zone. That's my assumption. You're going to throw jump balls. You're going to throw slants. He's not learning a wide receiver tree in a week. He's plus 700 to score a touchdown. Is that worth it? I don't know. But at least you know he'll be in the game. They have packages with him in mind. 10 to 15% of the snaps is what? 20, 15 plays? I don't know. But
yeah, it's not much.
It's not much. But it shows you where you could if you're feeling frisky with your money.
How do you feel about that, Kyle? And is there anybody else you might look at then instead of Robbie Anderson? Because, I mean, I don't think anybody that's watching this is going to put Robbie Anderson in their DFS lineups tonight now. Everyone's probably going to bet the unders.
I've thought about playing Robbie Anderson, and I think if you wanted to bet like Robbie Anderson touchdown, like you would actually be better off playing him in DFS, because like you're not just going to get 7.5 to 1x or whatever. Like no one in the right mind is playing Robbie Anderson tonight. It's like the same thing as like Taysom Hill. I'm not betting Taysom Hill touchdowns tonight, but like because he's so bad of a play, no one is playing him. So there's like the leveling effect of no one's playing Taysom. I don't care how bad he is. I kind of want to play him. I have a little bit. I'm not going to play that much. But I feel the same way about Robbie Anderson. And yeah, I mean, I think like the average NFL team, I think is running like 60 some odd plays a game. So he's getting like all of his snaps are going to be routes. Yeah, all of his snaps are going to be routes, which is good. Like you don't really care how many snaps he gets if every single, I mean, you still care, but at least you know that he's not out there blocking, right? He is out there running 7-8 routes. Hopefully they're in the red zone, but I probably wouldn't take anything on him.
No.
I mean, I don't know how many routes he's really going to, like the extension of the routes he's going to run besides.
It's got to be the same two routes.
A post, post corner.
It's a fade.
Yeah, I mean, we can't expect too much from Robbie Anderson tonight for good measures, but some guys that could find the end zone because you got a couple of them tonight. I definitely put down some same game parlays like we talked about. I'm on Juwan Johnson, called my little same game parlays to score a touchdown. I see you got him as your long shot. So talk about him and then your other touchdown play tonight that you actually are confident in happening.
For me, it's really more so the value on Juwan Johnson. He's plus 400 to plus 410, depending what book you're on. There is no Adam Troutman. You're lacking the wide receiver targets. When you're in the red zone, what's your focus going to be? It's going to be Alvin. It's going to be Alvin Kamara, who we're sitting here in week 7 has not scored a touchdown yet. Probably is another one of the touchdown scores we can talk about. But Juwan Johnson at plus 400, he has been targeted by Andy Dalton a few times over the last couple of weeks. It's really more for red zone sets. It's a value play, if anything. You're trying to juice up your same game parlay. By all means, Juwan Johnson's a guy I'm keeping my eye on. But other than that, that's kind of how I see him.
Yeah, I can't disagree there. I saw because you talking about Kyler Murray here, and I wanted to ask Kyle because I want to do a rapid fire with you guys right after this. I didn't tell either of you guys we're going to do this. It's just going to be a surprise, have some fun. But compared to Kyler Murray, and we just talked about Alvin Kamara, who would you rather bet, Kyle, to score a touchdown tonight? Because when he said Alvin Kamara hasn't scored, your face lit up.
I was just shocked. It feels like he should have, though. He did miss, I believe, 2 games. He rotated games he wasn't playing, so his sample isn't full, but he has a lot of touches. And I'm guessing those are Taysom Hill scores that have been plundered away from Alvin Kamara. I think I would take Alvin Kamara, even obviously at his odds. Like I'm not just saying straight up at his odds. I also like Eno, but I think that's just like by process. If you can get any one of these running backs who's going to play, he's going to play nearly all of the snaps. As like not a basically even money bet to score a touchdown, like I will typically take them unless they play for like truly the most decrepit offense. And I make fun of the Cardinals, and they deserve it. They don't deserve to be let up light on, but they have a 3 implied team total. So Vegas doesn't expect them to be like truly horrific, obviously. So Eno's my favorite. I think I would take Kamara over Murray.
Yeah, it's tough.
I tend to agree with you there just because of the value. Plus 105, plus 110. Getting Kamara at plus odds on a touchdown is shocking to me. I won't be lazy and say he's due because it's the hackiest thing you can do as a handicapper. So I'll be sophisticated and say positive regression.
Yes, correct.
There you go.
They're going against the 26th overall red zone defense at home. So the Arizona at home is a very poor red zone defense. So Kamara plus 105 is definitely the safer bet than Kyler Murray. But we have a little bit more precedent with Kyler Murray. And I say that because Joe Burrow scored last week. Marcus Mariota scored week 1 against the Saints. These are the only 2 mobile quarterbacks they played, and they've given up a rushing touchdown to both of them. So he does have 2 rushing touchdowns on the year. I don't hate it at 2-1, and especially with Nuke Hopkins. You're gonna be in the red zone expecting that jump ball. Why not just tuck it and run? So both, I think, represent extremely good value. Obviously, I think Kamara's a little bit of the safer bet.
So someone tweeted me earlier today and asked about Kyler Murray's passing yards and some of his props, and I just didn't feel very comfortable playing his passing yards. I think his touchdown scored is a better way to play it. I think his rushing yards over is a better way to play it. And I think because of if Robbie Anderson's running deep, D-Hop gets shadow covered by a safety, Kyler Murray could definitely scramble, get 10, 15, 20 yards, big gains. So I am with you there. I wanted to get to one of our questions here because our guy Matthew Stafford, not Matthew Stafford, who does have the night off tonight. He's got his own same game parlay in the tune. What do you think about this one? Zach Ertz, 30-plus yards. Olave, 50-plus yards. Kamara, 50-plus rushing. Kyler Murray under 277.5, which I'm a big fan of that one. I also like the Dalton under 244.5. I feel like both quarterbacks could go under their passing totals tonight.
I would be curious what his odds were. So, Mr. Safford, if you could throw your odds in
So
there.
it's like 5 or 6 to 1 probably, but yeah, pretty
Um,
curious.
the only one that actually scares me, I would say, is Dalton under. I don't know why. It's the red rifle. I have a feeling that's the only one that stands out. I was like, oh wow, that one is a little bit nerve wracking. 6 to 1. All right, not bad.
Yeah.
I think my only concern would be that you've got like negative correlation with both of your overs on the receiving yards, but the unders on the passing yards, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah, that's true too. I feel like asking for Ertz to get 30 isn't a whole lot. Olave to get 50 if Dalton gets around 200. I mean, Juwan Johnson's probably not going to eat up that many yards tonight. I mean, hopefully for your sake, Bobby Marquez Callaway does eat up plenty of yards tonight. But yeah, maybe why don't you ride with Bobby? Throw in another one, take Olave out, put Callaway in. And I feel a lot more confident with that one, in my opinion. Before you get to your same game parlay, let's take a few more questions here. Dameon Pierce or D-Hop in the flex. Do you have an opinion on that? Then, Kyle, I want to hear yours as well because I'm high on Dameon Pierce because I need to be.
I've been going first too much. Kyle, you lead the way. Let me follow you.
No, I don't care. I would go Dameon Pierce here. Like he's averaging like north of 15 carries per game in his past 3 outings, and most importantly, in his past 3 appearances, he's run more routes than Rex Burkhead. Which, like, for a team that's not particularly good, I don't want to just take the guy who's banging between the tackles because you're kind of relying on a long carry or red zone work, and you don't expect them to get much red zone work, the Texans. But if he's actually going to go out and get more routes and maybe see as many targets as Rex Burkhead, like he's not a full 3-down role player, but he's 2.5 at least. So I've been, and he's been elite as a runner too. PFF grade, yards after contact have both favored him very, very well. So I go Dameon Pierce here.
I'd have to agree with you. I mean, looking at his opponent, the Raiders are giving up 3.9 yards per carry. They've only given up 2 rushing touchdowns all season to running backs. It's the only thing that would scare me a little bit. But just in general in fantasy, I always favor the running back. I like Pierce. I wish I snatched him up in our league one, but I would definitely go Pierce over D-Hop. I just don't know what to expect from a guy coming off of a 6-game suspension. Obviously, he has a hype video and it looks all cool, but I don't know. And what I don't know, I'd rather go with safe.
Yeah, I can hear you on that one. I only got Dameon Pierce because someone took Brian Robinson 2 picks before me. And I was so upset. I was like, I guess I'll just take Dameon Pierce. That was the best, I guess, type pick I've had in a long time. I want to ask you, first off, who's your favorite team, NFL-wise?
Oh, LA Rams. I was born and raised a Rams fan, even though I'm from Jersey. My dad grew up in Arizona before they had the Cardinals, so he just picked the Rams naturally over there, was what was on TV. So I've been a Rams fan my whole life. I can remember the 99 Super Bowls in 5th grade. I was in LA last year doing some work for the Super Bowl. I didn't get to go to the game, but I was in a Rams bar. I am diehard Rams. That's Cam Akers' sign behind me. Sadly, he's getting traded, but
I was going to say that.
it's Akers. I got it all. No matter what, I'm always going to root for this guy. We're Achilles brothers at heart. So that guy came back from an Achilles tear after 4 months, and he has nothing but my respect for it.
Yeah, much respect there. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for the Rams, man. We've been hating on them a lot on this show,
but
I feel like
so.
The tide could turn. So let's do rapid fire real quick. You'll give your same game parlay, and we definitely appreciate being on here. So kick it off with the tight end talk. Kyle, you go first. Juwan Johnson, 40-plus yards for plus 194 or a touchdown. Which one would you rather have?
Give me the touchdown, 410.
Bobby?
Teddy. Give me the Teddy at plus 410.
Kyler Murray, over passing yards or over rushing yards? You getting the plus 100 on the passing yards, Kyle?
I will take the over passing yards. Murray has only gotten, I believe, 12 design runs this year. That's like, what is that, 2 a game? And the Saints are one of the lowest teams in pressure rate, which is gonna nix a lot of scrambles off the board. So I will take the passing.
Take
the rushing. You want to do it?
Give me the rushing.
Right
yeah, I'll take the rushing. Give me the rushing. I'm sorry.
Kyler Murray really hasn't gone over this total too much, and the teams that he went against, it was the Seahawks and someone else had a really, really bad defense too.
Against Mariota against the Saints earlier in the season, 12 rushes, 72 yards. Even Joe Burrow last week, 4 for 25, which is a pretty good 6 yards a clip. Give me the rushing.
All right, D-Hop over 61.5 receiving yards or D-Hop touchdown tonight, Kyle.
I don't want either of these. I want to be fading D-Hop. Give me the touchdown, because I think at this point in his career, he's closer to being like big body end zone guy than he is a guy who racks up yards.
Cool. Damn it! I wish I went first. I screwed up. No, I just look like I'm following the leader. No, I would go Hopkins touchdown. They're going to try to get him in the end zone, especially at home, first game back. Yeah, give me Hopkins at plus 120.
All right, this one is a little tougher. This is the one we'll end it on for Bobby, because your same game parlay. Rondale Moore, tutty, or Chris Olave, tutty?
I want Olave. He is, I think, second or third on the team in red zone receiving targets for the Saints. So he may not have an astronomical game, but he's been targeted in the red zone. Very savvy route runner, this guy. He can get open in small spaces. So give me Olave touchdown.
Totally agree. I think Chris Olave is just like a legit like number one NFL receiver, and Rondale Moore, like, God bless his heart, it's just this tiny little slot receiver. I'm not betting on that guy in the red zone.
Hey, I've never lost a bet on Rondale Moore, and that's because I'm 2-0, baby, and we're gonna keep it that way probably. But I do like him tonight in the little 25 plus yards in the same game parlay. So Bobby, as always, we love to have the lunch money sprinkles, the long shots. We get a couple here, 30 to 1s, that type of stuff. We had a 75 to 1. So now you're bringing us a 56 to 1 essentially. What's the play?
All right, so Kyler Murray touchdown. We already talked about briefly. Burrow and Mariota, both Russian quarterbacks, they got in the they got in the end zone against the Saints team. Juwan Johnson, we talked about. There's no Troutman. There's no Mike Thomas. There's no Jarvis Landry. I think he can get one in. I think it's gonna be a little bit higher scoring game than most people think. I've been saying that for the last 2 weeks, and I look like an ass, but. I would say Juwan Johnson touchdown, and then Marquez Callaway, 50-plus receiving yards. It isn't an alt line of his, but I do think he can hit this in 3 or 4 receptions, the 14 yards, average depth of target, and he has a good matchup cornerback-wise. So if he can break one, he has the Jets to have a 25, 30-yard reception, and then he only needs 1 or 2 other catches to clip this. So 10 wins, 565, and then we are set up very nicely for Sunday. That is my lunch money sprinkle.
And hopefully it is a favorites type of Sunday for the public, since it was all dogs last Sunday. But yeah, I could tell by your face, Bobby, you experienced some trauma like I did, but it's all right, because any given Sunday.
Did you go Packers on?
Of course I had the Packers.
Yeah,
I hate the Jets. But after seeing Russell Wilson's Subway commercial, I like the Jets. So we'll see what happens. And tell the people where they could find you, man. Tell the people about what you got working. If you're capping NBA, baseball, college basketball, everything, man, let us know.
Sure. So I'm on Pickswise. All my plays are through them. I put the articles out at least 3-4 days a week. I'm doing NBA and NFL. NBA, I'm off to a hot start, 6-1 through the first two days.
You got a freebie for tonight?
What's up?
You got a freebie for tonight?
Yeah, I do. Joel Embiid over 3.5 assists is the only play I feel pretty good about tonight.
Okay.
I'm on Let's Bet It 3 days a week with Pickswise. You can find me on Twitter at Prop Holiday. I try to throw some lottos out there. Picking like 53%, but I'm still positive on the year. I'm up like 3-4 units for the season in NFL. No, guys, thank you so much. Whenever you want me here, Vaughn, I will, and Kyle, I will happily chop it up with you over some Thursday Night Football.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it, Bobby. Best of luck to you, man, except when you're playing me in fantasy. But you got that already on lock. So, yeah, we'll have you back on soon, my guy. Appreciate you, and let's get these wins tonight.
Appreciate you guys. Good luck tonight.
Thank you. That was my guy, Prop Holiday. Make sure you guys give him a follow. He did put out a same-game parlay for tonight, too. I retweeted it. So, again, Prop Holiday on Twitter. He's stellar, man. He gets you guys some money long-term. Again, it's all about making money long-term. We got some bets tonight that we got to run through. I got to stretch for mine because my boy Bobby talked about getting out to a hot start. Maybe Andy Dalton might have to play from behind, throw the ball a little bit tonight. We'll see what happens. First half, Cardinals money line. Give it to me, Kyle. Did you know the Cardinals haven't covered a first half all season long? They're 0-6 ATS in the first half.
I buy that. They're bad.
Yeah.
I can't stand these Cardinals.
But you know what happens when streaks like that continue? They break at some point. And while I hate being that guy saying you have to bet against these type of trends, it's not smart to do that. This is a perfect position in my mind. New Orleans played 2 straight games in the Dome in New Orleans after coming back from London. So they haven't played a true road game in like almost an entire month. They got all these injuries, short week in Arizona, D-Hop back, Robbie Anderson. Arizona should be pretty excited. I'm hoping Glendale is not a boring city tonight, and it's very lively in that stadium. But what do you think about that? Me taking the 0-6 ATS Cardinals in the first half against the 2-4 ATS first half Saints.
I think it's fine. I don't want to bet on the Cardinals. I mean, they're almost like in Denver territory where like I truly do believe them to have talent. Like at least on the offensive side of the ball, having a quarterback who physically is nearly as gifted as any other quarterback, both with his legs and just like the most beautiful deep ball you'll find. And having really good receivers, whether it be D-Hop suspended, Marquise Brown is he's a legit number one receiver. D-Hop back should be. I personally do like Rondale Moore and James Conner, but like they just keep jamming it in my face for thinking they're good. They just won't let me. They won't let me win one time, and I'm trying to support them.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really back the Cardinals and say they're a good team at this point after everything I've seen from them this season. And we haven't even joked or touched on the point that Call of Duty is being released, and Kyler Murray's playing football, so he could be a bit.
It's caught out already.
I think there's an early release. It's either
it might just be
coming days.
Is it just the campaign though? I know the campaign released early, and like he ain't playing the campaign. He's grinding online.
I don't have time to play Xbox with all these sports in session. It's a sports equinox. We got 4 different sports in session right now, so yeah, it's too much for me to play Xbox. I can't even think straight. But the tool says here Hopkins might be on a pitch count tonight. That would certainly be interesting. Hopefully not. We got some hot takes that Kyler Murray is overrated. We kind of talked about that last week. It might be the case. We don't know yet. We got a question here though for you, Kyle. Need a bench one. Olave, Rondell, or your boy Juju, half-point PPR.
Juju got there last week. My king.
Finally.
Oh, my God. Brutal. Absolutely brutal stuff sweating through these awful Juju games. I mean, the thing is.
He's not a 1. He's not a 1.
Oh, he's definitely not a 1. But they have
Steelers fan. He might not even be a 2.
He might not be. But the thing is, he's done pretty well against zone. He's actually earned a team-high target share against zone. His targets per route run are at like 24% against zone. And he's terrible against man. And his opponent this week, I believe the 49ers, if I remember correctly, are like top 5 in zone rate in terms of the defense they're playing. It's my very like caveman level brain is just like, yeah, he's physically, despite he's like, probably 25 years old or whatever, but he's physically gone through so much at this point with so many injuries that he's not capable of just beating a physical corner one-on-one, but he's a smart dude. Like I'm sure he can still take advantage of soft zones. So it looks like another good spot for him. I don't know if he repeats the long catch magic of last week, but I'll take him over Rondell. Like you just have no ceiling with Rondell, whereas anytime you play alongside Patrick Mahomes, there's some ceiling there. And you're not benching Olave. That dude's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes has been incredible this year. This spot is hard though against the Niners this weekend, man. Like, I'm looking at that game. I'm probably gonna pass on betting that game overall, but if I was betting that game, I think I'd be taking the Niners at home plus the 3. Totally different defensive situation for the Chiefs, but yeah, anytime you have Mahomes throwing a football, you're in the game. D-Hop or Jalen Waddle, I feel like you're definitely going to say Waddle here, and easy, no doubt about it, especially with Tua back against my Steelers.
Correct. You laid it all out. Correct.
And there's the Steelers are getting 3 or 4 defensive backs back this week. Minka Fitzpatrick's actually expected back. With all the Steelers coming back, I still don't think the Steelers have a chance. I'll probably be on the Steelers team total under 18.5, 19.5. And I only bet the Steelers when I'm very, very confident. And either my team's going to win or they're going to lose. And they're going to lose on Sunday Night Football against the Dolphins. Better believe that one. So from Jared Hook, Melvin Gordon, no. Zay Jones or Taysom Hill. Is this Zay Jones? Is it kind of obvious?
To me, it's kind of obvious it's Zay Jones. I mean, Zay Jones is playing like a pretty strong number 2 receiver role for that Jags team before getting beat up, but he came back 2 weeks ago, I think now. So, and Melvin Gordon, like I'm not playing a running back who just got benched. I don't care if they named him the starter again this week. Not playing him. I'm not playing Taysom. Like I'm just not going to keep betting on this dude's son running on like 4 touches a week. Whereas Zay Jones, like he's a legit number 2 receiver. Yeah,
I have him in my. This probably won't give you much confidence, Jared, but I have him in my 16-team league because it's a very deep league. But I have Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. I've actually been pretty content with those 2 in a very, very deep league. But if you're in a 12-team league, I mean, definitely need to make a trade or hit the waiver wire of some sort if those are your 3 options. But Zay Jones could get you there here and there. Trevor Lawrence has been doing pretty good. FFB legend, 100% Zay Jones. I agree. And he says drop Melvin Gordon. Agree with that. Mark Andrews going to play this weekend. And then Chris also had a question on the total tonight. How do you feel about Mark Andrews against the Browns? I actually think if he's like a full go, he's one of my player props this weekend.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He leads the NFL in weighted opportunity rating, which is just a mix of target share and air yard share. He's not just like a tight end playing the role of a number one receiver. He is legitimately like one of the league's premier number one receivers in terms of his share of his team's offense. He's just absolutely elite. Like, I'm so disappointed I didn't get more of him in my fantasy leagues because like he's so good. He's been good throughout his career. He's not old. He's on an offense that was poised to bounce back. I think it was just mentally weak of me not to get to him more. But is he going to play? He didn't practice today. He didn't practice yesterday. I know yesterday Harbaugh said it was rest, and I generally take coaches at their word if they say it's rest. But then he didn't practice again today. Yeah. I still think he's playing. I think he's would be more likely to play than not. And if he's playing, you're playing him.
Yeah, I totally agree there. I was looking at his numbers, and I was like, if he's okay and he says I'm healthy, there's probably no way that I'm not going to bet him either to go over his receptions, yards, or a touchdown. Like one of those three options against the Browns looks like a great play. His last game was his best game ever against the Browns. 11 receptions on 11 targets for 115 yards and a touchdown. And in the last couple of games, he's had 5 or 6 receptions every time, hitting 65, 75, 58, 93 yards with 7 touchdowns in 5 games. His last 5 against the Browns, Kyle. It's pretty insane. So yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a great play tonight if he's in the action. Pat Freiermuth we don't know who the quarterback's going to be, Mason or Kenny.
I think it's Kenny.
It's Kenny.
I think it will be Kenny because usually if a guy is able to get in a full practice to start the week, it's a pretty good sign they're playing, and he did. So I would bet more likely it's him, but you're right. We don't know yet. We probably won't know for probably know by Friday final practice
Bateman
report.
Too.
Yeah, that's true.
For sure playing?
I don't know. I don't know if he is for sure playing. Again, I feel pretty confident he's playing. I think he came back to like a limited session on Wednesday. So not both of them, but both them or their respective quarterback in this question look like they're playing. Bateman, I would go Bateman here. I mean, you just have so much upside when you're playing alongside Lamar Jackson. He was playing on 6% of the snaps, and he had like a pretty strong 8-0. He was the guy they used to clear out space for Mark Andrews. But when that focus comes back on Mark Andrews, you're left with Bateman streaking wide open. So like he was outperforming efficiency stuff, and you kind of just expect him to do that because he's the deep threat for Lamar Jackson. So I like Bateman here.
Exactly. Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of closer games with the Ravens and the Browns, but there has been occasionally the 40-25 type games, 35-32 type games. And honestly, the more I watch the Browns, I'm kind of being convinced that they're just not really a good football team. They had the easiest 6-game schedule in the NFL, and they're 2-4 ATS and on the money line. Like, it's still the Cleveland Browns that I love as a Steelers fan because they do what I expect them to do. This is a good question here. I want to point out it's interesting that Tua's coming back off the concussion. Now Kenny Pickett's got a concussion. He might play despite just having one on a Sunday night, and we just saw what happened to Tua. So, I mean, I'm really hoping Kenny Pickett probably doesn't play, to be honest with you, but he might be. But Tua here, what's your status with him the rest of the season? Would you trade him? Would you trade Goff? And you got the St. Brown connection, so Amon St. Brown. I mean, it's nice to have a quarterback receiver duo like that stacked.
Yeah, I'm typically just not trading for quarterbacks in the season long, especially right now. Like, you can't trade for the best quarterbacks because their price is so insane, but they're the only quarterbacks giving you this like meaningful edge. The difference between Josh Allen and Jared Goff is obviously a chasm, but the difference between, say, Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins or even like Jimmy Garoppolo, it's not enough for me to give up anything meaningful. Like if you have like a streaming tight end, like say someone's down bad at tight end, they're like, please, I need Hayden Hurst this week. Sure, maybe I'd swap like streaming options, but that's all these quarterbacks are. Tua's probably more of like the better of the low end QB1s, like a good QB 6, 7, 8. That guy's still not blowing away Jimmy Garoppolo. So I probably just wouldn't trade for a quarterback in general. Not that I really like Tua rest of season, but it's just, I think you can almost never like recoup value in trying to pay up for a quarterback that isn't like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, man. Like Bandit said, though, smash that like button, subscribe. Kyle having to pick it up tonight because our man Lord Don't Lose had his senior night for soccer again. He'll be back on Monday. I did want to get to one of the questions in here. It's a pretty interesting one, but before I find it, let's do the total tonight, Kyle, because NFL primetime unders, they've been rolling. This total was actually 46.5, 47, but it went down to 44 now. I kind of feel like the value's on the over with these two bad defenses, but we saw Arizona hold Seattle to 19 and only score 9 on them. So I'm kind of skittish on just playing the total for the first time ever on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, and we saw the same thing with Seattle holding Arizona. It was truly Seattle entered that game with I think 4 sacks on the entire year. It was 8 sacks on the entire year, and they got 5 that night, or maybe it was even 6. Like they nearly doubled their sack total just because they got to face a beat up offensive line and Kyler Murray, who takes sacks on his own. Like he does walk into them every now and then. So I think at this point the line's probably been bet to where it is correct. But I mean, if you can find you probably can't find a line that's still hanging out above what the normal is. So I probably would lean off of it. But if I had to pick, I still think I'd go under. I don't know.
Yeah.
Neither of these teams are that good.
I mean, I would just confidently always be betting the under on Thursday Night Football. And I mean, the past 3 or 4 weeks, I've been saying it over and over. Almost every primetime show we've had, I've been talking about it just because that is the right direction to go. But I don't know about tonight, man. I don't feel confident about it. The Cardinals spread has moved. It's out to -3, -2.5 some shots, 61% of the money on there. Kind of feeling like it might be a Saints type of night, though. I know a lot of sharps are on the Saints. The public's really high on them because Diop's back. Any opinion on that? Because only 27% of the bets on the Saints. We should know how that ends up. Which side wins?
Yeah, I could go for the Saints here. I think if you made me pick one, the Cardinals are just schemed so poorly. This team getting Olave back for the Saints, they're actually figuring out sort of how to use Taysom Hill, and I hate it. It bothers my math brain that he can just run for 10 yards a carry, and I won't be betting on him tonight. In fact, if we talk about that, I'll be betting against him. But they're playing about as well as you can under Andy Dalton. They have a really good run defense. So I think these teams are pretty much close to even. And if anything, maybe the Saints are better on a neutral. So I'd take them with the points here.
Yeah, that's if I was betting this side, I would take the Saints plus the 3. Like I said, I'm the Cardinals first half. I think they get out to a small lead in the first half. I think there's a lot of excitement, but schematically, the Saints could probably just come back in the second half and cover whatever the second half spread is with ease. I'm hoping the Cardinals get a nice 3, maybe 6-point first half lead. Then I'm coming back on the Saints in the second half. I'm probably taking them either outright or to cover, hopefully outside of a 3.5. That'd be nice. Tyreek Hill looking good on Miami, starting him against the Steelers. That's a no-brainer, my guy. You got to do that. No doubt about it. Romeo Doubs or Brandon Cooks, Kyle, before you get into some of your plays for tonight.
Brandon Cooks. I mean, Romeo Doubs has just shown an inability to create stuff for his own. Most of his targets that he's able to garner are coming on screens and short stuff. And he's supposed to be a deep receiver. He's got that deep speed. He can play, should be able to play on the outside. But right now, I just think the NFL game is just a bit too much for him. So I'll take Brandon Cooks, who's just a week in, week out, true wide receiver 1. Admittedly, quarterback play, not the best, but I'll still take the wide receiver 1 type of guy.
How about this one, tight end king? Taysom Hill, George Kittle.
We're not playing Taysom Hill over George Kittle tonight. We are not doing that. Cut it out with this nonsense.
Come on, Aaron. That's what Kyle says. I thought it was a valid question. I don't believe in George Kittle all like that right now. He's going to be blocking way more than usual. So run through some of your plays, man. We got about 7 minutes left of the show. We appreciate everyone that tuned in tonight for sure.
We can talk about the first one. So we're talking about Taysom Hill. Is Taysom Hill under 32.5 rushing yards? I literally am just betting against him running at 10 yards a carry. I think that's what he's at right now, is 10 yards a carry, because he's getting between 3 and 9 carries a game. His median has to be somewhere around 4 or 5. The average player on that work gets 19 yards. And I will admit, he's probably not the average player. I definitely think there's something special to how he's used, how he's able to beat defenses. But is it 10 yards a carry special? I do not believe that is the case. I refuse to believe that he should be getting 30 carries a game if he can do that. Keep pushing his carries up until you find out at what point the efficiency comes down. But I think, the math would bear out that he's not that much better than the average runner, right? He probably is better. But is he? Yeah. He's not 10 yards a carry. He's probably not even 7. He's probably 4.5 or something, 6 maybe at the most. So for a guy who just gets no work whatsoever, he gets no targets. Doesn't attempt passes much either, 1 or 2 this year, and 4 or 5 carries. I'm taking the under on this rushing yards. This is insane. Yeah. He's a tight end. Come on.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I keep seeing certain lines like this, with Deebo Samuel, his rushing yards, and now his rushing yards is at 17.5. I'm like, it's just like it seems too easy. And for people that have been watching Taysom Hill lately, this one seems so easy as well. But yeah, I would be playing the under on both him and Deebo Samuel this weekend if we were getting to the rushing yards. You like Jawan Johnson. Everyone likes Jawan Johnson tonight. Are you going to play Jawan Johnson though the rest of the season, or is this a one-night wonder for you?
Depends. I mean, depends if we get Troutman back, which we will at some point. Was this just concussion? I don't remember. Yeah, whenever Troutman comes back, they're clearly committeeing these guys. Maybe even if one of the guys they called up, like, Nick Vannett or JP Holtz, like plays a bunch of routes tonight, I'd get off Jawan Johnson. But as long as he's the starter, I'd keep jamming him. He's just a wide receiver playing tight end, and there's not really many targets for this team to throw to. So over 2.5. I also like his receiving prop as well. I think they're just underrating him as like this backup tight end, which like he's a pretty good pass catcher.
Yeah, and I think we talked about a little bit earlier here that 100% of the bets at BetMGM are on Jawan Johnson over 26.5 receiving yards. I mean, you really can't argue against it too much. 99% of the bets are on Kyler Murray over 34.5 rushing yards. Also, another one that I actually do like too. So yeah, it's hard for me to argue against some of these plays, to be honest with you. There's a lot of value out there, usually in the primetime spots. I feel like it's easy to go out and get them to start out. Stardom sit-ems. I guess we know you're sitting Taysom Hill with all the hate.
We are not playing Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill runs like 9 routes a week, throws a pass every 3 weeks, and gets 4 carries a game. Like he's essentially a fullback. He's a neat, interesting fullback. He's very good at what he does, but I'm just not like the math bears it out that these guys that are running so incredibly hot, I'm not playing them. Like you have to get to where I ranked Dalton Schultz really low this week. You have to get to that tier of players where I'm like, I'm not even really sure how involved they are in the offense. Like a Tyler Conklin, who's now like splitting reps with other players on his team. These types of players. Any tight end that plays most of the snaps, I'm going to take over Taysom Hill. Like you can start him. We have buys this week. He's not like a cut guy, but he's like a tight end 17 for me. I think it's probably right where I have him.
That's no one that you want to start in fantasy is tight end 17. That's for sure. Okay, I can get down. I mean, he's been saving me. You talked about Tyler Conklin. Literally, Taysom Hill's replaced Tyler Conklin for me because
he's better than that type of player. Yes.
With Noah Fant, and I thought Noah Fant was going to be somewhat okay. He's the worst. You got
That's another example
Benjamin
of a player
starting.
he's better than. That's another example of like Noah Fant is not running all the routes. They're splitting him reps with Will Disley and Colby Parkinson, whatever. You can play Taysom Hill over that guy. Like I have some Taysom Hill, and in some bad spots, I am playing him. But like you could have picked up Greg Dulcich to play over him. For my start, Benjamin. They gave Keontae Ingram like 3 carries last week, no targets. They gave 15 carries, I believe 3 targets as well. So it's clear that they're giving the entirety of their backfield. I don't think he's that special of a back. There's a reason I think someone in the chat said this, which is why it's on my mind. There's a reason he's a third stringer, right? But running back is a position where so much of it just depends on the situation you're in. And if you're in a situation to get, they're favorites this week with a reasonable implied team total. If you're in that type of spot, you're a really good bet to get like 15 carries for no fewer than 60 yards, 2 catches, and a really good shot at a touchdown as far as running backs go. So I play those types of players.
I like that for sure. And then you got Alvin Kamara, highest projected score for you tonight. Any value? You just see the value there, just because?
Yeah, like
defense.
Didn't want to go too off the board with this. Alvin Kamara is like clearly the best fantasy option other than quarterbacks. I try and generally keep quarterbacks out of this because quarterback scoring is like obviously quarterback. Kyler Murray would be the correct answer, but we're seeing, especially under Andy Dalton, Alvin Kamara's target share is up like 5%, and his rate of converting on those targets, because Andy Dalton is far better on these like 1 to 2 A-dot throws, is even higher. So to me, Alvin Kamara, as long as Andy Dalton's under center, is just a slam dunk.
Yeah, can't argue with you there either. We're getting some hate though. They're calling us Taysom Hill haters. And yeah, hey, it's all right, man. We don't care. It's okay.
I have Taysom Hill's ranked as actually tight end 15. So there are plenty of players you can play him over. But like I have him ranked just behind Jawan Johnson. I took Hayden Hurst, Robert Tonyan, Pat Freiermuth, and you can kind of guess the rest after that. I took those guys over him because they play on real offenses. This one, I'm not like, I'll take, like, if there's no one else to pick up, I'll take the 0. Like you want, Mark Andrews is so good. He runs, God bless his heart, he runs circles upon circles upon circles around Taysom Hill as a fantasy player specifically. So I would keep Mark Andrews, and if he doesn't end up playing, like gamble with some bad tight end.
Yeah. What do you think about this one tonight? Since you're the DFS guy, cashing out $20K on the weekends, slight flex. What do you think about this?
Yeah, that's fine. I think for me, I ended up playing one running back in every lineup. It was mostly because Eno. It's really the projections tonight. Really, just love Eno, which is why I love him. But I think it's perfectly fine. I think for the most part, if you're thinking about building a highly projected lineup that won't be duplicated with other people, I honestly don't care too much about the avenue you take to get there, whether it be not playing running backs, fading a quarterback, that type of thing.
Yeah, I can get down. I want to ask you one question though before we get out of here. Will I be cashing DeAndre Hopkins first Cardinals touchdown scorer tonight? Are we doing
No,
it?
It's Eno.
No?
Eno Benjamin.
Eno
will score
Benjamin?
this.
Gentleman's wager?
I'll take Eno over D-Hop.
All right, gentleman's wager. Eno over D-Hop. Sounds like it's going to be interesting. That's the only way we can get Thursday night football interesting around here because we know it's going to be like 7-3 at the end of halftime. So before we get out of here, what's your prediction, Kyle? Who wins tonight? Who's the MVP of the game?
Saints. Shock. It shouldn't be shocking, but they'll just say they beat the Cardinals. It doesn't have to be shocking. Cardinals aren't that good. 23-16. Cardinals kick a lot of field goals with their backup kicker, whoever. It's Rodrigo Blankenship. He's very good.
Oh, yeah, he's all right. I wouldn't say very good. He got cut. But
he got cut after like missing one bad kick. I hate when coaches do this stuff. The guy is like legitimately one of the highest percentage kickers. He misses like 2 kicks or whatever in a game and they cut him. Unreal.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I think it's going to be a great game tonight. I'm going Cardinals lead after the first half, obviously. Saints come back and they win. They get a game-winning field goal in the final 2 minutes, and they win 23-21. And then everyone who gets the under 43.5 loses because the 44 hits. And that's how that happens here. So like our man Connor said, good luck. Good night, everybody. We'll see you guys back here Monday. Lord Don't Lose will be in the building, and we'll have another guest for you guys. So make sure you stay tuned, subscribe, and go smash that like button. Kyle tweets here on Twitter, VMoney Sports. It's Kyle Dvorchak, Vaughn Dalzell. See you Monday.